Hello, Steve. This is Rania from Boulevard Properties. Am I catching you at a good time?
If you're running a business, you've also probably heard of an AI answering service. There are these new human-sounding customer service representatives that answer calls on behalf of businesses like yours, except, you guessed it, they're not human. They're designed to capture your caller's information, assist them, and even help close deals. Some even do outbound calls, or as you may know them, cold calls. It's pretty straightforward stuff. They've been growing in popularity as more small business owners try to capture every opportunity while keeping costs to a minimum. But since this is still a relatively new technology, and with skepticism around AI services negatively affecting the human customer service experience, is it actually worth it for your business? And more importantly, why should you trust me? Let's start with that last question first. I'm Andrew, and I work for Ames Call Center. We're an entirely US-based answering service that's been answering calls on behalf of businesses like yours since 1932. Soon, we're launching an AI-assisted answering service that still keeps that human touch, but that's not what this video is about. I'm just telling you this because I want you to know that this video is made with first-hand knowledge as to how an AI answering service is made, programmed, and the trials and errors in beta testing it to deliver a refined product for end users like yourselves. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about the main attraction of AI answering services, which is its cost. So why is it so cheap? Well, because it doesn't really take a lot to create a base model for an AI answering service. This video does a pretty good job of explaining how you can create one yourself for close to nothing. All you need is a phone number and some coding work, and that's pretty much it. Now, obviously, for you to be able to use it fully fleshed out for your company, you're going to have to spend a lot of time training it, but we'll get to that in a moment. But that's really why it's so cheap. It doesn't have that significant investment and overhead costs that a traditional human agent answering service requires. Now, does that mean that AI answering services are cutting corners and giving you a subpar experience that you're going to regret in 2 months? Not necessarily. You see, just because an AI answering service is cheap doesn't mean it's inherently bad, like most business partnerships. So to answer the question, are AI answering services worth it? We have to look at the real question first, which is, how do you find a good AI answering service? Based on our over year-long experience in programming, beta testing, and research, we found that there are 3 main factors that really make an AI answering service valuable to people like you, and they are security, training, and reliability. Let's start with security. You already know that HIPAA compliance is a must when working with healthcare groups. Human agents handling calls on behalf of these healthcare groups need to be HIPAA compliant, or else they risk patient health information being leaked, and also pretty big fines. We even hire a third party to audit our HIPAA compliance annually because we take it that seriously. Also, with AI answering services being priced so low, and with a lack of transparency around their security measures, it's hard to trust what's secure and what isn't. So it's not about whether you run a hospital or not. What matters is that you or your caller's data could be leaked because an AI answering service provider didn't invest deeply in securing your data. But all hope is not lost. If the AI provider and your IT department can prove that their backend is secure and that there won't be any data leaks, you should be good to go. This may take a while to test, and we know because we've gone through it, but I can't emphasize how important of an investment this is. And if the test fails, well, you'd have just saved yourself a lot of stress and a lot of money in the long term. Remember this, if their model seems a little insecure, it's probably very insecure. Now let's move on to training. You could probably guess, but this is really important because your AI model should be trained for more than just security purposes. Things like how long it should wait to fill in a dead air moment, how should it pronounce your company's name, and so on. Here's a little personal insight. When we were building our AI answering service, we programmed it to finish its sentence even if it heard the caller made a noise. By default, it wanted to stop. But in our testing, we found that people were more frustrated having to repeat themselves to the bot than they were if they were to just wait to respond or ask something. It's to that level of detail that your AI model should be trained for. Now, how does an AI know things? Well, it pulls all of its necessary data from a basket of information called a knowledge base. Think of a knowledge base like the AI model's brain. Everything it needs to know about taking your calls comes from here. When you get an AI answering service provider, they may help you populate the knowledge base based on what you deem necessary information. Sometimes, though, they don't. And if you build it yourself, you'll certainly have to populate it on your own. In short, AI models take a long time to train, but since most AI answering services are new, you're likely to face a dip in quality early on due to operational challenges. But that's to be expected since it is a new service. This happens with newer human agent answering services too. Their operations managers will spot weaknesses, patch them, and refine the system. With AI answering service models, this training might come from your AI service provider, or you might have to do it yourself. As this refining goes on, that's when you'll get the best results. But here's the issue. AI answering services are popping up everywhere right now. If they're being developed too quickly, they won't have enough time to train their models. So unless you can guarantee that your AI model has been trained extensively and that your AI service provider is continuously training your model, you're likely to be the guinea pig for your AI answering service. Now, if this is not a concern for you, then it's really no issue. But it's important to consider. And that brings us to our last point, which is that ultimately, there aren't that many AI-only answering services that have been around long enough to prove their reliability. Since most fully based AI answering services are all new, it's hard to tell which ones will stick around and which ones won't. We've already seen more than a few up and leave in the last 2 years. But consolidations in the answering service industry are a bigger issue, which we'll get to another time. Regardless, can you guarantee that these companies aren't just using pre-existing models, not training them, flipping them, hoping to make a quick buck, and then disappear as soon as they cash in? Now, this is a concern for human agent answering services too, but the barrier to entry for human agent answering services is significantly higher than that of just AI answering services. That's why it's so important to thoroughly vet the company that you want to work with before committing to anything. Think of questions like these to ask. How long have they been in business? How much of a social presence do they have? Do they have a process for training their AI models? How many iterations or versions have their AI models gone through? How many clients do they work with? And are there some reputable names among them? If there's enough evidence that they're in it for the long haul, you should be good to go. Now we're wrapping this up. Say you find an AI answering service and you want to know if they're worth it, and they check the 3 boxes. They have hard evidence of compliance for data protection laws for your industry or place of business. You trust that their AI model is well trained and ready to handle your type and volume of calls. Their company is in it for the long haul and they aren't just chasing easy money. So should you get it? Sounds like it. Finding an answering service of any kind, whether it's AI or human agent, is really important. So if you find one that's a keeper, you should hold on to them tight. Now, we're not done just yet. You might have heard me earlier say AI only or fully based AI when referring to AI answering services. Why is that? Is there another option? Well, yes, there are. There are answering services out there that use AI to assist human agents rather than replace them entirely. And this may sound biased since we offer the service too, but if you're looking for the reliability and service quality with an AI answering service, an answering service that isn't entirely AI, ironically, might be your best option. It's the best of both worlds really, as you get that efficiency in call handling that AI is so good at, and that human touch that your callers will remember. Plus, you'll be working with an answering service that's been around a while, so there won't be any doubt when it comes to reliability. So keep that in mind when shopping for your next AI answering service. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments and we'll get to them as soon as possible. And that's all for now, and we'll see you in the next video.